They expect you to break. They expect you to lose control. They expect you to snap and shout back like every weak man does when his ego gets poked. But they are wrong. They have mistaken your silence for defeat. You don't panic. You don't yell. You don't show them pain where they can see it. You stay still, so still that the room feels heavier, like a storm is about to hit. That is the first moment when fear creeps in, and they feel it, even if they can't explain why. This is not mercy. This is not weakness. This is control. Control they didn't know you had. Control they cannot shake. Control that takes their disrespect and turns it back on them, until they feel hunted by their own shadow. A man who reacts right away is easy to read, easy to predict, and easy to beat. A man who waits, who lets the words hang in the air like an insect about to drop, that man is dangerous. Cold men win because cold men don't rush. Patience is the hidden blade under your coat. Sharp, quiet, impossible to stop. Every breath you take after someone insults you is not weakness. It is reloading. Not reloading a gun, but reloading your plan. When someone disrespects you, they hand you a weapon. They just don't realize you're going to use it. That is the moment you stop being prey. That is the moment you stop being soft in the way harmless people are soft. From here on, you are winter itself, cold, quiet, and merciless. They will soon learn that arrogance is the first thing that freezes. When someone disrespects you, your first urge will be to react, to defend yourself, to throw words back. But that urge is weakness disguised as pride. Machiavelli warned that power is rarely lost in one single blow. It leaks out slowly when you let your emotions control you. Every time you rush to prove something, you're paying a price you didn't have to pay. Your silence is not giving up. It is your first move in a much bigger game. Think of yourself like a chess player across from a noisy opponent who thinks the game is about making noise. They slam their pieces, they talk big, they want you to get pulled into their volume. You don't. You let them think they are winning while you are quietly setting up the kill shot. That is what cold strategy looks like. Weak people think revenge means reacting fast. Strong people know revenge means repositioning. If you react right away, they own the frame, they control the tone, they set the rules of the fight. But if you keep control, you decide when, where, and how the fight even happens. If it happens at all, that is why you stay quiet. That is why you watch. That is why you collect every detail. Machiavelli wrote that men must either be flattered or crushed, nothing in between. Your patience allows you to see who should be flattered and who should be crushed. This is not easy. It takes discipline. And discipline is the currency of power. Here is where your leverage begins. While they think they've humiliated you, you are actually building something. You are collecting information, allies, proof. They think they hurt you, but what they've done is step into your scope. They are now being observed, and this is when they start making mistakes. Big, stupid, obvious mistakes, because they think you are not paying attention. This is when your power grows. You are no longer part of their little drama. You are the architect of the board they are trapped on. And when you finally move, it's not to argue, not to win points, but to make sure they cannot challenge you again. The man who waits controls the terms. The man who controls the terms wins without swinging. Let that burn into your mind. You decide the battlefield. The best revenge is not loud. The best revenge is to make them destroy themselves while thinking it was their idea. Machiavelli knew this well. Your enemies collapse faster when you remove open resistance. If you fight them head-on, you make them stronger because they unify against you. If you go quiet, they divide themselves. Their pride swells and blinds them. And pride is the most predictable road to ruin. After someone disrespects you, you cut off their supply. No calling them out in public, no venting to mutual friends, no whisper campaigns. You act as if they are an empty chair in a locked room. This is psychological starvation, and it works. People cannot stand being ignored by the person they tried to provoke. Your silence becomes a mirror they are forced to look into, and what they see there is often something they hate, themselves. While they are trapped wrestling with their own ego, you are working in the shadows. You are growing. You are sharpening your mind, building your network, gaining more power. You are becoming untouchable, not because you shout, but because you rise above. They can take shots at you, but their reach won't matter because you're operating on a higher level. Machiavelli told rulers to appear merciful and good, but to be ready to do the opposite if survival demanded it. You must do the same. To the outside world, you stay calm, focused, and productive. Inside, you keep a ledger. Every insult, every attempt to humiliate you, every move they make, it all gets recorded. Because at the right time, this ledger becomes a weapon. The beauty of this strategy is that you don't need to act first. You let them talk, you let them show their hand, you let them overstep. They believe they're winning ground. In truth, they are writing their own case for destruction. When the moment is right, you don't argue, you don't explain, you simply show the facts. Facts are cold. Facts are final. Facts end conversations. By the time you act, the field is already yours. You didn't rush onto it. You built it under their feet. That is how you make an enemy collapse without ever touching them. You let them trip on the trap they set for you. Remember this, you do not crush them yourself. You let them crush themselves. Patience is the opening move. Precision is the kill shot. Up until now, you've been quiet, watching, letting them stack mistake on mistake, like wood waiting for a match. But Machiavelli was clear. A wise ruler does not strike in anger. He strikes when the blow will end the matter completely. That is when you switch from defense to offense. And this part is critical. Your strike must look like necessity. If your strike looks emotional, people will call you petty. If it looks calculated, fair, and impossible to avoid, people will call it justice. That is how you rewrite the story. That is how everyone sees you, not as the aggressor, but as the person who restored order. This is when your revenge becomes lethal. You do not go after someone's strongest point. You go after the crack between their pride and their weakness. Everyone has one. That co-worker who cut you down. His crack might be a hidden failure he's desperate to keep secret. That rival who mocked you. His crack might be that he lives for other people's approval. You do not attack the armor. You attack the seam. Slowly, quietly. You make moves that look like coincidence to everyone except him. You quietly block his opportunities. You cut his lines of support. You reveal just enough truth to make others doubt him. You, Dan T, have to tell the whole story. Just enough that his allies start asking questions. And once doubt is in his circle, they will finish the job for you. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved, if you can't be both. Fear lasts longer than affection. If your strike teaches him, and everyone watching, that disrespect has a cost, then fear is planted deep inside their memory, and fear grows roots. But here is where most men fail. After the strike, they gloat, they celebrate, they make it about their ego. You don't. You go quiet again. You let the silence speak. You let the results speak. The mystery of what you are capable of will scare them more than the memory of what you already did. Now they know you can hit, and they know they'll never see it coming. A real predator doesn't just attack and walk away. He owns the land after the attack. The mistake most men make is that they stop at the hit. They get their satisfaction, but they leave the door open for payback. That is sloppy. Machiavelli called this half measures, and half measures create danger. If you teach someone they can recover from your strike, they will come back stronger. You, Dan T, just win the fight. You make sure they can T-fight you again. This is post-strike dominance. It starts with controlling how people see you. After your move, you don't brag, you don't explain, you let the rumors spread. You become the person they whisper about. Mystery is stronger than confession. When they don't know exactly what you are capable of, they imagine it, and their imagination is always worse than the truth. You also keep showing progress. Promotions, partnerships, wins, new achievements. Each victory sends a message. Not only did you survive, you leveled up. You didn't just weather the storm, you built a fortress in it. That kind of growth freezes your enemies in place. Quietly, you move your pieces on the board. You place allies where they can stop threats before they reach you. You surround yourself with strong people who make attacking you costly. That's how rulers stayed in power. Not by fighting every battle, but by making most battles unwinnable. Machiavelli warned that showing mercy without strength invites disrespect. That's why from time to time, you show just enough of your edge to remind people what you can do. Not reckless, not desperate, but precise, subtle, enough to keep respect alive. You keep your blade visible, but you don't swing it unless you must. This way, your enemies live in hesitation. They doubt every move, second-guess every word, and in that hesitation, you control them. Real control is not about making someone bow once. It's about making sure they never stand tall in front of you again. Remember this, hitting ends the fight. Owning the aftermath ends the threat. A king without loyal lieutenants is just a man in a crown with no one willing to defend it. Machiavelli was brutally clear. Rulers are rarely destroyed by enemies far away. they are destroyed by those closest to them. That's why your next step is not just about handling your enemies. It's about building loyalty so deep that betrayal becomes suicide for anyone who dares to try. First, you must understand something important. Loyalty is not bought, it is grown. Money can be outbid, fear can fade, but shared benefit, that is what cements an empire. You find the people whose goals line up with yours, people who rise when you rise, people who cannot win unless you are winning. These people are not just friends, they are investments. You give them what no one else can give them: access, protection, knowledge, opportunities, and in return, they become extensions of your power. Machiavelli advised leaders to raise ministers so dependent on them that cutting them out would mean their fall. You do the same. You make yourself the center of their growth. Without you, they collapse. With you, they rise. But here's the cold part. You must test them. Quiet, controlled tests of loyalty. Give them small chances to betray you when the cost is low. Then watch carefully. Listen. Those who pass, you promote. Those who fail, you cut off quietly before they think about betraying you when it actually matters. To the outside world, your circle will look like a fortress no one can break into. That perception alone is power. Now, an enemy considering an attack has to think not just about you, but about the loyal, silent allies around you. Allies who might strike back before you even lift a finger. This is psychological defense, and it gets worse for them, because loyalty expands your reach. Your allies take your name into rooms you never step in. They defend your reputation when you're not there. They stop threats before they even get close. This is how true power operates. The empire defends itself. Machiavelli warned that too many divided voices weaken a leader. That's why you keep your circle small and strong. Too many voices mean too many cracks for an enemy to slip through. A handful of deeply loyal operators is worth more than a room full of shallow supporters. Once this system is built, you are no longer just a man protecting himself. You are a center of power surrounded by a living shield. Enemies can't just attack you directly. They have to dismantle your network first. And by the time they even try, it's already too late. Burn this into your mind. My circle is my armor. Power does not need to shout to be real. The most dangerous man in a room is rarely the one talking the loudest. Machiavelli knew that a ruler's strongest weapon was not the sword itself, but the belief that the sword is always close by. Fear is more effective than force because fear works on its own, 24 hours a day, even when you are asleep. The mistake weak men make is thinking fear comes from aggression. It doesn't. Fear comes from unpredictability and controlled presence. If your enemies can predict you, they can prepare for you. If they cannot predict you, they start inventing their own stories about what you might do, and those stories will always be scarier than the truth. Your first step is to control how you appear. You must always look calm, collected, and steady. No visible stress, no rushed words, no desperate actions. When someone disrespects you and you respond with the exact same calm as before, they will wonder what you are planning. That wondering is the first spark of fear. Next, you use strategic absence. You disappear from certain places without warning. You decline invitations with no explanation. You quietly remove access from people who once had it. This makes them question where they stand with you. The unknown becomes your weapon. They fill in the blanks themselves, and those blanks are always threats in their imagination. Then, you send precise signals. A stare held 1 second longer than normal, mentioning a detail about them they didn't know you knew. A perfectly timed compliment that reminds them you see both their strengths and their weaknesses. You are not threatening them out loud. You are letting them know you are aware. Machiavelli said a ruler must be both a fox and a lion. The fox to spot traps, the lion to scare the wolves. Silent intimidation is the fox's weapon. You're never in open conflict, but no one doubts you could end one instantly. Over time, this creates something bigger than fear, an aura. You will know it's working when people lower their voices when you walk in, when they check your face before they speak, when even your rivals avoid saying your name too loudly. That is no longer just respect, that is survival instinct. And here is where it becomes lethal. Once the aura is built, you no longer need to do anything, it sustains itself. People will spread the warnings for you. They will tell others not to cross you. They will exaggerate your power. The legend feeds itself. And from that moment forward, you have psychological dominance. No yelling, no fighting, just your presence. Let this settle in your mind. My silence speaks louder than threats. Your reputation is like a shadow. It walks into the room before you do. It speaks when you are not even there. Most people just hope their reputation stays good on its own. That is foolish. Machiavelli understood that perception is more powerful than truth. If people believe you are disciplined, calculating, and dangerous to cross, they will act as if it's true even if they've never seen you act. This is how you turn your name into a weapon. First, you shape the story. Every move you make must reinforce the same identity: calm, calculating, untouchable. Stop showing people your struggles. Stop explaining every decision. Show them only the result, never the process. If they can't see how you did it, they will believe you can do it again, in anything. Second, make your victories public, but make your retaliation invisible. Let your successes be undeniable, but let your enemy's downfall look like coincidence. If they cannot link it to you, they become paranoid. You control the dots they connect. Third, don't hide every loss. Use them. Even a setback can grow your image if you frame it right. When you talk about failure, make it sound like a lesson you chose, or a necessary sacrifice that set up your next win. Show that you can take damage and keep moving. People respect someone who takes a hit and still advances. Fourth, plant stories, not lies, but strategic truths. Tell allies stories that subtly expand your reputation. Let those stories spread naturally. The strongest reputation work happens when people think they discovered the truth about you on their own. Once this system is running, your reputation becomes your armor. People will see disrespecting you as a losing move, not because of what you did, but because of what they fear you might do. Fear of the unknown is the strongest shield you can wear. Machiavelli warned that a leader who is loved but not feared is doomed. You don't have to choose between love and fear. You create both. Your allies respect you. Your enemies respect your reach. Either way, your name has weight. And here is the final shift. Once your name carries weight, you no longer chase power. Power begins chasing you. Remember this. My name moves before I do. Sometimes the strongest move is to disappear. Not because you lost, but because you already won, and you want them to wonder what comes next. Machiavelli said fear grows where there is no information. The less people know about your plans, your position, your intentions, the more they invent their own conclusions. And in the game of power, those conclusions always paint you as more dangerous than you actually are. That is exactly what you want. Strategic disappearance is not running away. It is pulling back your presence. You take away your time, your energy, your attention. You let your enemies speak into the empty space and expose themselves. In the silence, they guessed. Guessing turns to paranoia. Paranoia turns to mistakes. But there are 3 rules to make this work. First, disappear on your own terms. Never in reaction to pressure. Disappear when you are at your peak, when everyone sees your influence clearly. Then your absence feels planned, like you are moving pieces on a board no one else can see. Second, leave traces, not direct communication, but hints, rumors of new moves, glimpses of new alliances. Your disappearance becomes a riddle. They cannot tell whether you are planning a big strike or just watching them closely. Third, when you return with leverage. Come back with a win, a resource, or a stronger position. Your reappearance must prove that your absence was a move, not a retreat. Machiavelli said men must be handled with generosity or destruction, nothing in between. Strategic disappearance is the pause before you decide which one they deserve. You give them just enough time to miss you or to fear what you might do next. Either way, they are ready for your move. Always remember, constant access breeds complacency. Scarcity creates value. If you control how visible you are, you control what you are worth. And if you control what you are worth, you control the entire game without touching the pieces. Etch this into your mind. My absence has weight. There is a difference between defeating someone and erasing them. Defeat is temporary. They can come back. Deletion is permanent. They stop existing in your world. That is the freeze-out. Machiavelli understood that the most secure victories are those that no one can reverse. And today, the freeze-out is how you do that. It is power without fighting, victory without a blow. Here is how you do it. You stop acknowledging them completely. You never say their name. You don't bring them up. You don't correct people about them. You act as if they do not exist at all. That silence spreads, because when you treat someone as invisible, others copy you. Then, you quietly control the spaces they need to stay relevant. You influence the rooms, the opportunities, the conversations that matter. You don't sabotage them openly. You simply make sure their name never appears in the right places. Invitations, skip them. Calls, stop coming. Projects, pass them by. This is not a personal attack. It is systemic. And the beauty of it is that it is invisible. They cannot accuse you of anything. They have no proof, just silence. And silence, over time, kills relevance. Relevance is like fire. It needs constant fuel. You don't need to put it out yourself. You just stop feeding it. This is destruction without drama. No fight, no spectacle, no witnesses. They slowly fade away until even their friends forget they mattered. They are still alive, still talking, still trying, but no one is listening. You have erased a threat without lifting a finger. The most elegant victory is the one that leaves no evidence. By the time they realize they've been erased, it is already over. Remember this: I erase without touching. Revenge is not the final step. The real final step is consolidation, making your power so stable that no one even thinks about going against you again. Machiavelli warned that after victory, a wise ruler removes the roots of the threat completely, or else trouble will grow back. The clever man does not just win, he secures. Consolidation means turning revenge into a system that runs by itself. Your network, your reputation, your resources, everything must now serve one purpose: making sure a challenge against you feels impossible. First, you make your authority clear to everyone. Every win, every alliance, every step forward should be visible so that your dominance looks permanent. People must see that you are not just surviving, you are growing. This marks your territory. It tells the world you are not to be tested. Second, you reinforce your inner circle. By now, they've seen what happens to anyone who crosses you. They've proven their loyalty. This is when you reward them with more power, more trust, more stake in your success. The more they benefit from your rise, the harder they will fight to protect it. Third, you cut every tie to your former enemy. No interactions, no messages, no shared spaces. In history, the strongest rulers erased the names of their enemies from the record. You do the same. Their memory becomes nothing. Finally, you protect the aura you have built. Keep your composure flawless. Keep your presence scarce but powerful. Let people talk about your retaliation, your silence, your control. Never confirm it, never deny it. Mystery is the cheapest and most effective power you will ever have. Machiavelli's final lesson was that power lasts not because people fear punishment, but because they are sure it will come if they cross you. Everyone must believe that testing you is not just risky, it is suicide for their ambitions. When that belief is everywhere, your position cannot be challenged. At that level, you no longer defend yourself. The world itself defends you. The network you built, the fear you planted, the respect you earned, these become a fortress no one can penetrate. You are no longer reacting to danger. You are the reason danger never shows up. That is the highest level of power. That is the Machiavellian throne. Say this out loud and burn it into your mind: I am the throne.